The big question you need to ask yourself every day is, do I own a job or do I own a business? And unfortunately, the majority of contractors out there own a job. That's right, they're a slave to their own business. But the other side of the fence is so much greener, it's so much better, and that's when you're finally fully in control of your destiny, your freedom, your time. And that's what Contractor Secrets is about. It's about taking back our time, building a business with systems, standards, values, procedures, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And that's what it's about. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have you here. Let's dive into the Contractor Secrets podcast. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Trade Thrive podcast. This is Tanner, and I want to touch base with you on a topic that we've been discussing. If you haven't already listened to the previous episode about the value sandwich, we're going to talk about the other side of the coin. And that other side of the coin is being able to showcase that you can either match or exceed the expectations of somebody that had a good experience before you. Now, listen, if they've had a great experience, the question, I think I joked about this in the last one, is like, where are they, And we don't know. Maybe that company moved on, or maybe they moved from a different state, or maybe, maybe they're too busy to take on additional work. So by you asking the question, have you ever hired a professional, whatever your company is, in this example, I'm going to use painting company, before, and they say, actually, yes, we have. And then you say, hey, how was that experience for you? And if the answer is it was a great experience, we don't just shut up there. We want to know why it was great, because anyone who is a professional contractor, and if you're trying to win someone over, the goal is to really say things that they like. Make sure that you're aligning with things that are important to them. So why try to create these things and try to kind of shoot blanks when you can literally ask this question and identify what they really appreciated? And, we could go into an example where we talk about someone who had a great experience with a previous painting company, and they can say, hey, the experience was awesome. I mean, the company was so responsive. The company made sure that all of our needs were met prior to us starting. They helped us with colors. They made sure that they were on time. They were clean and courteous. They backed their work. If there was an issue, we could address it. It made us really comfortable. And what we want is to make sure that we're listening to the things that the customer really appreciated about the last experience. And then what we want to do is we want to either match those expectations or we want to exceed those expectations. And if the company that they dealt with was a professional company, which exists, maybe, it was somebody who's listening to this podcast here, there's a lot of great companies out there. We can't just assume that everyone's had a poor experience. It just doesn't happen that way, but we want to make sure that if they had a good one, we recognize that and we match or exceed those expectations, because we want to go back to the main point of the last episode that we talked about people comparing us to a previous experience, whether it's good or it's bad. The last thing we want to do is under-deliver. The last thing we want to do is, if someone really appreciated, the last company helping them with colors because they're so bad with colors, we don't want to say, oh, sorry, we don't help with colors. That would just literally, put you in a position to really not be considered as much as you would be considered if you really identified that as something that specific customer appreciated. So the idea is to identify first, we discussed this in the last episode. The idea is to first identify, if they've ever hired your type of trade before. And if they have, even if it's a bad experience or a good experience, we still want to know what it is. We're just listening for two different things. In the bad experience, we want to hear about what that bad experience was. We want to alleviate their concerns. We want to separate ourselves from that bad experience so they don't compare us in terms of price. And then we want to build value as to why we're different. Now, if we have someone that had a good experience, we want to listen to what those things they appreciated were. And then we want to think about how we can either match those expectations or, even better, exceed them, which will separate us from the pricing expectation, which hopefully the company that gave them a great experience priced it appropriately, charged them appropriately for that experience. So the expectation gap that we talk about isn't that far when we present our price. So then, of course, then we want to build value based off of the things that they appreciated with the last contractor. So, this idea may be a little foreign to you if you really haven't dove this deep into your sales process, but it's so important, and really, we heard about, if you've ever done any, listening to any sort of sales advice, I've heard where someone says, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you should be listening more than you speak. And this is a prime example of an example where this actually works based off of what that saying means. I mean, we have to listen to what these people are telling us, because they are going to give us the keys to the sale. Can you imagine having information that no other contractor has, that your customer either appreciates or your customer, does not appreciate? This sets you apart. So, if you compare yourself to the other 2 contractors that are coming in and giving an estimate, and these guys are coming in, measuring, giving a small spiel that has no direction whatsoever, and pretty much leaving after the customer says, "Thank you so much." Well, all you have to do is ask the right questions, and boom, you've already separated yourself. And that's what this is about. So one of those right questions that we talk about is asking that question of, have you ever hired a professional painting company before? Have you ever hired a professional flooring company before? Do you know what to expect? And then, of course, we have in the off chance, which isn't too far off, people that haven't hired anyone at all. Okay, so we do get a lot of people that have painted their own house pretty much their whole life, and it's finally time for them to hire someone. So this is great. We want to build that belief of what to expect. I actually appreciate these people more because I don't have to erase old beliefs. I don't have to feel like I have to compete with another experience if they've done things completely different that they appreciated that we don't do. Certain things like, oh, they put 3 coats on the walls. That's something that I'm not going to do. That's just an extreme example, but hopefully you get where I'm going with this. But the new people, we say, oh, great. So this is how we do it, and this is what you can expect. And when you're a company that has high standards, you have systematic processes, and you really do your best to please your customers, this is a great way to paint a picture of what they can expect. And hopefully this allows you to be their go-to person from here forward, because you've just given them such a great experience. So either way, we want to ask this question. It's an important question to ask. You should be asking it every time. Now, I want to get into kind of what happens after this, because from here, we do want to segment into pricing. And again, remembering what the entire purpose of this is to make sure that we are closing the expectation gap, kind of just piggybacking on the last episode where we talked about what that expectation gap was. The value sandwich. Essentially, the top bun is your price. The bottom bun is their expectation. The meat, the tomato, and the cheese inside is the value that you have to build to bring that sandwich together. Okay. And really, it's about eliminating old beliefs as to why they think that your price, or why they think that your trade costs what it costs. And in order to be competitive, yes, we do have to get close to what the market is pricing the job for, but that doesn't mean we have to match it or we have to price our jobs low just to get the work. We just have to build more value and show them why we're valuable. And for me, I'll give you an example as to really just educating my clients. This is why I'm so passionate about this, because not everyone does things the way that my company does it. I have 10 employees. We pay employer tax. We have workers' comp. I pay my guys top dollar for the going rate around here because I have great guys. They have families. They have things to pay for. This isn't just, someone that's okay with just receiving cash. My members of my team, they want mortgages. They want to be able to finance vehicles. They want to function in society, and that requires a system. They have to be paid through payroll in order to do that. So for me, I have gotten to the habit of, hey, listen, I'm not afraid to say these things to my customers, to know, first of all, you have to understand that, we have people that we consider, artists, not just painters. These guys treat this as their career. So for us, we invest in paying our members of our team more than the average rate of what other companies pay, because we run everything through payroll. We have employer tax, we have workers' comp. And if you are working with employees, you should totally be telling your customers this. And guess what? If the other company has subcontractors, well, it's probably going to make you seem a little more favorable. These are selling points. And if you're spending the money to invest in doing things right, which in my opinion is operating legally, having workers' comp, either way, whether you're subcontractor or your employee, you do have to have workers' comp. So if you don't know about that, send me an email. We'll talk about it. But where I'm getting at is that anything that you have, that you pay for, that you invest in, you should be using this to build value and build trust. Because if you don't, they won't know. And we don't want to be compared to anyone else. We have to make it like, wow, this company does things the right way. From the initial phone call all the way until this estimate that I'm receiving, I feel nothing but good about this company coming and doing a great job. The thing about it is that if you do this, you have the strategic advantage of contractors in years past dropping the ball. So people already have a slight distrust when it comes to contractors. And if you can overexceed, you can eliminate that distrust and maybe highlight it. I would say highlight it with the other contractors. I know that's not really the best thing to say, but that's part of being competitive. If you're shining and you have an incredible follow-up process and you've been really responsive and you've answered all the right questions and you deliver when it comes to giving the estimate and you build value and you explain all the things that you do, what I like to call on the back end, and that's having the right insurance, that's having workers' comp, that's explaining, hey, the guys that we have, this is their career. They really care about this, explaining your processes and your systems, right? That kind of dims the light on the competition a little bit, unless they're doing the exact same thing. But you're listening to this, so chances are they're not. So we can't estimate anymore. We have to start selling. What we talked about today was essentially bringing in that question of, have you ever hired a professional painter, flooring company, roofing company, whatever your trade is? Have you ever hired someone professionally in this trade before? And if the answer is yes, we want to find out what that experience was like. In the last episode, we talked about it being a poor experience. In this episode, we're talking about it being a positive experience, and then knowing how to navigate if it's been a positive experience. We don't want to underdeliver if someone has high expectations of what to expect. I think that's really important. So we want to match those expectations, and best case scenario, we want to exceed them. And then last, if someone has not had an experience hiring a professional roofer, professional granite company, professional flooring company, painting company, well, this is where we get to showcase why we're different, why we're the best, and really the playing field is yours to create a belief instead of erasing an old one or matching an existing one. So this is really important. I hope you grasped something out of this. Remember, your sales process is about building value and building trust. And if you can do this, you separate yourself from the competition and you justify higher pricing. And that's the goal. All right, guys. So thanks so much for listening to this awesome episode of Building Value, bridging the gap, the expectation gap, the value sandwich. If you haven't already done so, head over to tradethrive.com. Right now, we're setting up awesome mobile-friendly 2020 websites for contractors. I can't tell you how important this is to have a living, breathing website. Now, if you look at your website and it doesn't pull someone to take action, okay, you're missing out on business. A website is an investment. Yes, it costs a little money up front, but this thing is going to be your 24-hour, 7 days a week salesperson. And if you go to your website and you're not happy with it, you need to reach out to me at tanner@tradethrive.com, or head over to tradethrive.com and go to the web design tab. And what I want you to do is look at the websites that we've been designing for painters, contractors, and check them out. one of my favorite features on these websites. Well, I'll give you two. The first one is the Instagram gallery. The Instagram gallery is great because a lot of you guys post on Instagram, but you don't feel like posting on your website. So in other words, if you haven't posted on your website in 30 days, you need to go over to my website, tradethrive.com, and fill out the form so you can get a free quote on getting your website redesigned. My second favorite feature of these websites that we're doing is the Facebook Messenger integration, because people want fast communication, and there's nothing faster right now than connecting on Facebook Messenger. And we put that right on your website so people can click and they can message you directly if they can't get a hold of you through the phone for whatever reason. So head over to tradethrive.com/webdesign and check it out. See it for yourself, guys. I look forward to maybe helping you level up your game in any way possible. Thanks for listening. This is Tanner with the Trade Thrive Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode. Hey, I just want to take a second to thank you for joining me here on the Contractor Secrets Podcast. I'm just going to take this opportunity to let you know that my passion is coaching people, helping people. I've changed my Instagram name to @contractorcoach. And I did that because that is my passion. I want to help you. So please reach out to me. If you have an issue going on in your business, send me an email, find me on Instagram, message me, and let's do a breakthrough session. I want to work through your problems in your business to help you get to that next level. And one thing that I always say is this, the difference between those that get over the humps and the hurdles in business is just a change in perspective. And that's what I plan to offer you. So get with me, message me, allow me to help you take your business to the next level.